Hi, this is Jennifer Hershey. I'm Isabel Allende's editor at Valentine Books, and I'm here to talk to her about her new book, The Soul of a Woman. I'm so excited to be with you tonight, Isabel. You're best known for your 15 novels, but you've also written 4 nonfiction books, and The Soul of a Woman is your 5th one. So can you tell us a little bit about The Soul of a Woman?
It's a sort of very personal memoir about me as a woman and as a feminist. I became a feminist when I was like 5 years old. So it's a long run. I'm 78 years old now, and I've seen a lot. And I have seen the feminist movement going forward and back with a backlash and stopping and then getting energized again by a wave of young women. So I thought it was time to tell my own story about it. And the book also is already published in other language, and I'm getting feedback from women readers, especially young ones, that feel that it's their story too in many ways. So I'm happy with the book.
This was one of my favorite parts of the book, was reading about you as a 5-year-old and how fierce you were. Can you tell us a little bit about what about your childhood made you into a feminist at such a young age, even though there wasn't even really a word for it then when you were growing up?
Look, I was born in 1942 in Chile, very conservative, socially conservative society, in a very Catholic family, where my grandfather was the patriarch and he was like God. And my mother, who was a señorita, educated to be somebody's wife and somebody's mother, found herself at 25 abandoned by the husband with 3 babies. And she had to go back to live in my grandfather's house, where she had no money, no power, no freedom, nothing. And I grew up in that environment, seeing my mother so vulnerable and not wanting to have a life like hers. Very, very young, I rebelled against all male authority, my grandfather, everybody. And so everybody thought I was a lunatic. I was even taken to the doctor to see if I had some intestinal worms or something that was creating this anger, this terrible anger. Then around puberty, I started realizing that the anger was killing me in a way, because I became very silent, very withdrawn. I would hide behind book covers because I really didn't want to interact with anybody. I was so angry. It took me a long time, and it was in my adolescence when I realized I wasn't alone, that there was a movement out there, and that there were books that I could read, and women that all over that were feeling like me, and they had an articulate language to express it. And that changed everything for me. But it took a long time.
Mm-hmm. So you write very passionately in the book about some of the ways that you feel that society still needs to change, even after all those years since that time and all the changes that have come, the ways that the things that still need to happen before women can be safe and free and equal in our society. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those things that you talk about?
Well, what is the goal of feminism? Let's define it first. It is a philosophical position. It is a struggle against the patriarchy. And the patriarchy is male dominance, a system that gives male dominance over women and other men as well. And it covers everything: religion, economy, socially, cultural, in every way. And women started to rebel against this a long time ago, asking for the vote first. And then it evolved into what we know today as women's demands. But we have not defeated the patriarchy. What is the final goal? The final goal is a management of the world in which men and women have equal numbers and have equal power. And it is a system, a culture, a civilization in which feminine and masculine values have the same weight in the society. We are a long time away from that, but we have come a long way. So I will not see the end of the patriarchy in my life, but maybe my granddaughters will. So every generation pushes the movement forward. And this is a revolution. And when women can come out in the streets and protest, they are pushing history.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is fantastic. The fact that I've been able to witness this from the beginning to what's happening today with the Me Too movement.
That's another one of my favorite parts of the book that you just touched on. There's a line in the book where you say, I want to light the torches of our daughters and granddaughters with mine. They will have to live for us as we have lived for our mothers and carry on with the work we didn't have time to finish. I get chills when I read that quote. What would you say to girls and young women when they read this book? Like, what do you want them to take from it?
Talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be alone. Women alone are very vulnerable. When we get together, we're invincible. Mm-hmm. So yes, we are. So that's why men fear when women get together. Even when we get together for tea, they are sort of trying to listen what we're talking about, because probably we're conspiring. We usually are. So they're right in that sense. Get together. And this is a struggle that we do with joy. It's joyful and it's sexy. There is nothing dark about it. Of course, it's a war against the patriarchy, but that's a joyful war. It's like a carnival. We are going to win, but we are going to win together, and dancing and singing and loving and having children and sex. All this we can have, but keep on fighting for us and for our sisters who have less education, less privileges, less rights. Many of them have nothing, and we have to fight for them. So I keep telling young people, my granddaughters, because my granddaughters sometimes say, they call me Mai, you're dated. You're so old. Feminism is over. No, it's not over. And you will see when you go out into the workforce that it is not over. So I keep telling them, just keep fighting and do it joyfully.
Well, I felt very inspired reading the book, and I felt like I wanted to tell my daughters the same thing. So I know that message will come through. So just as a final question, since we're talking to librarians across the country in this video, I wanted to ask you what libraries mean to you.
A lot, because I have been an avid reader all my life. And in the house where I lived, there were all kinds of books, because I had an uncle who collected books. He stole them from libraries and from bookstores. And he had a black coat with big pockets where he would put the books that he stole. So the house was full of books.
Oh, no.
But they were all adult books. But I grew up with the library books, the library at school first. And then in Chile, which has gone through times of poverty and catastrophes and earthquakes and political upheaval and so much, libraries have played a role. There were libraries in buses that would go along the country doing what libraries do, lending books and then getting the books back in this eternal journey of going back and forth along the country. There is today libraries in the subways. So people pick up a book in one station and then 3 days later give the book back in another station. And everybody said they're going to steal the books, and actually they don't. Mm-hmm. So there is something wonderful about libraries and librarians who have the incredible power to guide a young mind in what the person will read and be informed of, and maybe how they think about life.
That's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Isabel. We can't wait to share your new book with the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.